near the end of February, I think it was like the 26th, 25th or 26th, we were ordered to intercept a Japanese fleet and landing forces that was approaching Java. There were, I remember there were about 10 or 12 ships altogether. There were other British heavy ships. There were Dutch light cruisers and destroyers. And on the 27th of February, we met and we fought those ships. And, no, I say the 27th, that was the 28th, the last day of February. Well, of all the ships that we were fighting the Japanese ships. All of the ships were either sunk or put out of action, except the Houston and the Australian light cruiser, the HMAS Perth. At that time, we were under the command of a Dutch admiral. Well, at the end, late in the afternoon, on the 28th, all those ships were out of action except the Houston and the Perth. And our captain said, we are to leave the area and go to Australia immediately. So these two ships, we left the area, and it took us the rest of the afternoon and part of the next day to cruise into Batavia. And we were short of oil, seriously short of fuel. So they hesitated to give us oil, but they finally decided to give us oil for only a short period of time. And then we left that harbor, and it was getting dark. But we left the harbor and entered Sundra Strait between Java and Sumatra, straight into the Indian Ocean. Well, we had entered the strait, the Sundra Strait, and we, of course, were all blacked out. The Perth ship, the captain of the Perth ship was a little older than our captain, so he was in command of our two ships. And we could see, when it was daylight, we could see the Perth ahead of, that's how close we were together. But all of a sudden, about 11 o'clock, the Perth in front of us opened fire. And she was firing at destroyers. And of course, immediately we found out we were in the midst of a landing party, of a Japanese landing. Well, as we entered Sundra Strait, we were immediately in the midst of a Japanese landing force. There were at least a couple dozen army transports discharging troops. They were close enough to the beach that they were discharging and then going to the beach in their boats. And we were fighting, I don't know how many destroyers, but there was at least 4 or 5. There was at least a destroyer on each side of us for the entire time we were in there. And when we were firing at them and they were firing at us. Now, the Perth was the first to be sunk. She was a light cruiser. She had 6-inch guns. We were a heavy cruiser and we had 8-inch guns, the big guns. Except our number 3 turret was lost. If we fired at them, we had to either be going so we could go broadside or forward head on. We could not be leaving the enemy and firing a defensive fire. Well, but all this time that we were firing at the Japanese destroyers, and the other big ship was out at a distance, we were so near. Now the sky was lit up. They lit up the sky immediately. That was true of all Japanese naval battles in all of the Pacific. And it was so clear, it was really brighter than daylight, you know. So we saw the Perth burning, and we saw her disappear. And she had about the same percentage of survivors that we had. Not too many. And then after she sank, we lasted until almost another 40 minutes.